I remember my childhood quite well. It was not joyful and it cannot be called happy. I grew up frail and sickly. I was developmentally delayed until 4.5 years old. I did not speak, only uttered incomprehensible sounds. The most vivid memory of my childhood still gives me goosebumps and a sticky feeling of fear, as usually happens when a person encounters something that he cannot explain. My mother raised me alone and worked all day, leaving me with my grandmother. According to her, at that time she left for another city and, of course, my grandmother looked after me. She was already quite old and walked with difficulty. I remember her kind wrinkled face and already faded blue eyes. She wore funny polka dot scarves and flowered robes. She always smelled like something like fresh milk or fresh bread. I loved to climb onto her lap and listen to her muffled, but still pleasant voice. She told me many interesting stories, but unfortunately, I didn't remember them. Of course. That day, Granny went to the store and left me to watch TV for a while, although she was not a supporter of it, but apparently thought that it should distract me. I remember that she was gone for a long time and I was very scared, because I, like all small children, was very afraid when adults were late. When I had already started to whine, Granny returned, but without any purchases. Although it was hard for her to walk, she never showed it. But when she returned, it was noticeable that she was in great pain. There were tears in her eyes, and I myself began to cry. But she began to calm me down and in the end I fell asleep. The following days I began to notice oddities, but at that age, of course, I did not connect them. I simply noted that something had changed in her behavior. She hardly spoke to me. Her face was angry and distorted. And also, she began to smell strange. So sweet, but at the same time terribly unpleasant. She regularly cooked porridge for me and put me to bed. But when I wanted to climb into her lap, I was scolded. I remember that then I cried for a long time from resentment. The smell from her grew stronger, and even now I shudder. It was such a disgusting aroma. I remember that my grandmother, with difficulty, drawing out words and coughing terribly, talked to my mother on the phone, saying that everything was fine. And one morning, I woke up and realized that my grandmother was not there. I walked around the house and looked for her, and then cried for a long time. I had a real hysteria. That was the first time I spoke, and my first word was, "Grandma." The neighbor, hearing my squeals, persistently rang the doorbell to find out if everything was okay. Apparently she called my mother. A few hours later, my mother arrived and I saw confusion and incomprehension on her face. That day, she left me with the neighbor and was gone for a long time. Only in the evening she returned and cried all evening. And then she walked around sad and dressed only in black. I never saw my granny again. But when I grew up, I found out what really happened. It turns out that when my grandmother went to the store, a pack of dogs attacked her in one of the dark alleys. Feral mongrels mauled her and dragged her behind the garbage bins. On the very day my mother returned, the garbage bins were being taken out and my granny's half-rotted body was discovered, because it was hot then. My mother claimed that she herself was in complete shock when she realized she had talked to my granny when she was already dead. And after that, my mother went to church for a long time and often took me with her. We lit many candles for her repose and even invited a priest to bless our apartment. I don't know how to explain everything that happened, but I'm sure that my grandmother didn't want to hurt me. Only this terrible cloying smell of rotting human body still haunts me.